And it is Wednesday, guys. You know what that means. It's another Trekyards mission briefing, your weekly dose of Star Trek goodness, looking at a ship from the wide multiverse of Star Trek. We can look at canon, non-canon, side canon, fan canon, all of the above. And boy, do we love analysing. Sometimes a first look, sometimes a review, or sometimes looking at a cult classic or just legend. Hi, how you doing, Stuart? What are we looking at today?
Well, today we have a fan-commissioned episode. This is Ned Thurber requested the USS Raven, which, of course, is 7 of 9's parents' ship from Voyager, which they used to study the Borg, which actually is a really fantastic little ship.
And as we're saying, this is the SS Raven, even though we call it USS because... But it's the SS Raven, back on that naming convention. But yes, first appeared in Voyager, sort of out of nowhere. Always good to see Federation ships, I find, in Star Trek. I love when they just throw them in any which way, and another Rick Sternbach sort of design. But do you remember your first impression seeing this ship? And what do you think now?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic little ship, actually. One that personally, as a personal craft, would be very cool. It's a little bit bigger than a runabout, but it looks like the big brother to the runabout. It's got the same kind of design cues as the runabout, especially in the front end. You can definitely see that. So I think it's great. I mean, you know how they gave Scotty the little shuttle to take off at the end of Relics? This is what I would want. Something with a little bit more room, something a little bit cooler, a little bit, more hot rodish, I guess. There you go.
It's funny because I like this ship. I just like it. Yeah. It's a whole package of but it's so boxy. It's weird. It's not an elegant ship, but actually the curves, the way it's done, it works surprisingly well. But it's not a conventional Federation ship. No saucer, no secondary hull.
And no line of sight between the nacelles.
Wow.
So how is it warp capable?
Wow. We don't talk about that anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I really like this design. I think part of why I like it so much is it's just another random Federation ship. It serves a niche. It's another element to this wide design style. But I like the engines, and you'll see later on they got a sweeping curve at the back. What is going on with those facades, I don't know, but I really like them. I always love new styles, even though it's just boxy, but it's a very form follows function ship. They need space. They've got space. It's like a caravan. You just need long caravan space, then engines, boom. That's it. That's the entire ship. But Stuart, you might remember, really her first appearance was this next picture.
Yes.
Yeah, not the best looking.
That'll buff right out. I mean,
spit and polish,
a little bit of elbow grease, and you could sell that for a good quatloo. Yeah, I don't really remember this scene, to be perfectly honest with you, but looks a little worse for wear here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is worth.
It's a cool scene, though.
Oh yeah, and it was a really nice. Again, just another Federation ship, and when we see it properly in the later episodes, flying around. That's where I think it really soared. It's worth saying that this wreck was designed by Rick Sternbach, but then he didn't do the follow-up sketches for the final version. That was more of an amalgam of the team. So while he designed this, he didn't necessarily design all the final stuff. It was kind of a rush.
That's interesting.
I've got to do the final one. But as you can see the direction where it was going, just with some extrapolations.
Yeah, it was going down.
Well, yeah. But Stuart, scale is the question. We'll just jump back to the first picture. What do you think of the scale is for this ship? And you said runabout, Big Brother runabout. So you're thinking it's just a bit bigger than a runabout? I mean, what?
Well, no, I think it's substantially bigger. I mean, that front section looks like a runabout size. It's maybe just 2.5 times longer than a runabout, I would think.
Well, this first scale shot, which we're not going to cut to yet, I have a Voyager and an Equinox. How would it compare to a Voyager length, do you think? Because obviously those are the other famous ships of that show.
I would say maybe the length of a nacelle, maybe a little bit shorter, would be my first thought. I mean, it's not a huge ship. It's a science vessel. You can kind of see in the windows with that first shot we saw of it, and you kind of get a sense of the bridge size there. So after watching the episode, you know how big it is inside. So I'm saying smaller than the nacelles.
So runabout plus. It's a platinum way of travelling. Well, Stuart, go to the next picture, and this is the default scale of all the CG models.
Oh my god, it's Nova class size.
It absolutely is, yeah. A bit bigger.
Wow. That's surprising, actually.
Yeah, you got to wonder. I mean, obviously, we see the only appearance is with Annika Hansen and her family. That's a 3-person. They've basically taken it, gone off and done their own thing. Doesn't really reflect the scale of the ship. But maybe this is Obviously, it can have more crew. Obviously, they might have had supplies on the ship. It may have no replicators. They need to have more physical food and water. I don't know, but it's obviously a ship either designed for a small crew, for no luxury, or, as you said earlier, civilian, less people, but actually a lot of space to relax.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I mean, I can't see it being multiple decks. Maybe 2 decks. You know what I mean? So when you compare it to the Nova class, it's like, really? I didn't picture it to have multiple decks. Like maybe 2, like I said, but really? Do we have a shot of it from the side?
We do, and we do have shuttles in a moment as well. So cut to the next picture. That's it from the side.
Gotta say, I love the shape from this side. It's very cool.
It's worth saying, this is classed as a exploration vessel. So, different style. We'll talk about registry in a bit, but it's the NAR, rather than USS. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, from the side, pretty comparable. It's not a long way off, but obviously the priority is different in terms of where the space is and doing what. Maybe, I mean, it could be as simple as it needs a larger warp core because it's older, and therefore a lot more of the internal volume is that and deuterium. I mean, we know the Equinox is a short-range ship, so it doesn't have those same deuterium stores. Maybe this has those deuterium stores. Straight away, you need a much larger ship just to carry that.
Well, yeah, they weren't sure how long they were going to be following the Borg for. So yeah, I can see a lot of storage tanks in the bottom, perhaps, for deuterium and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
And obviously you can see it there with some shuttles, and you can see it there is compared to a runabout.
Wow.
A smidge bigger. But you're right, it could be 2 decks. Maybe with a third at the back, just bulkier bulkheads, Jeffrey's tubes. We can see a physical door, which we'll look at a little bit later. But yeah, if you go to the top view of the next picture, we can see it compared to the Equinox, which is a smallish vessel. It's a short-range science vessel, and here you can compare it to the shuttles and a Voyager escape pod. So slightly bigger than a Runabout Plus. This is a real proper big spacecraft. This is not a small beast. I'd love to see a deck layout and really get a feel for how much space. I mean, they underdid it with that set. The set they built. This ship, I've always liked it. I think we need to have seen it more, and to get a sense of it really. It feels like a warehouse with warp nacelles. Maybe it's that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think if I recall correctly, there was like the bridge is a big open room. There's a center table, and there's like the sleeping quarters are just off the bridge. Isn't that where Annika comes from when she wakes up?
But they could be just like the originally meant to be the captain's quarters, but obviously they won't all stay together. I mean, you wouldn't live right at the back of the ship if you're all together. You need 2 bedrooms and 1 if you really want to be personal, whatever. But yeah, certainly bigger than I thought. But again, great design. But let's go back to the views of the ship. This aft view, and again we've got close-ups on the details later on. But actually, for a ship that was seen in basically 1 episode, 1 and a bit, that was fleshed out, I really like the details. It's simple. It feels functional, and yet there is enough greeblies to give it a sense of life and a sense of purpose, which I really like.
Yeah. Again, I think this is a fantastic design. I wish we would have seen more of it. I actually have a little miniature of it in the other room, and it is one of my favorite design ships. So,
but it's just a big, bulky rectangle. Why do we like it so much?
I don't know, because it works. Sometimes things just work.
Yep.
Like Trekyards, we just work. No. I love the placement of the impulse engines in the struts, though. It's that next evolution of ship design, kind of stepping away from, like the Galaxy class ship design. So it's a newer ship. It's quite evident, but yeah, I think it's fantastic.
And I like that. You're right. There are callbacks. Something that back bit feels a bit runabouty to me. I mean, there's dimensionality of the runabout of other sort of ships of the time. It is of the same, it could have been in the same mind roughly, but it's of the same sort of era, definitely. Now,
do you think this thing has a shuttle bay? I mean, it's big enough to, from what we just saw.
Oh yeah, certainly. Certainly one of the smaller
kind of looks like a shuttle bay door at the back, even though it wraps around. I mean, if that was just
a slice,
a door at the back would have been really cool. I mean, I think that would have worked.
I felt that's the Type 9s to speedboats. That's too advanced for this, but yeah, a standard type, whatever the other ones are, more bulbous, would probably still fit at the back there. I mean, I feel like those 2 pillars at the back, that should be if there's a shuttle bay door, it should be there. But again, how many views did we see of this ship? I mean, it actually was in the show, a few more shots than it could have been, which is great. Some ships like the Relativity only at like 3 shots. That's it. This was in a few more than that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you need a shuttle bay. This can probably land. I mean, if Voyager can land, the Equinox can definitely land. This is even smaller. It should definitely have to be able to land. And since it's much more stout, much more compact, I mean, the center of gravity is a lot more manageable. This is more what I consider this is more like a yacht. This if I was designing this more like a yacht to me, private or personal, whatever. I mean, it's got something of the captain's yacht from Insurrection to it. The sort of shape design, a little bit more,
and it's similar to that as well. You could make these engines articulate up, and that would actually work very well with this design.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or down. I mean, either way, I think that'd be fine. But they're obviously fixed here. There's no articulation point.
That's really interesting.
Adding that would really add a dimensionality to the ship. That'd be very cool to see.
Yeah, especially fitting into the Voyager era, obviously.
Yeah.
But the next picture is a bottom view, and we will talk about those middle bits in a bit. But again, little details at the bottom of the cells. Again, most of this is simple text detail, but it actually works really well. And for a TV show budget from 90s, still holds up really well.
Well, and as you said about landing capabilities, it looks like there's little pads on the front of the nacelles that it could rest on.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Maybe there's a front that front rectangular part right at the front comes down as a strut.
Well, to be fair, you wouldn't need that long a leg necessarily, especially if it's that flat.
You wouldn't.
So you could probably fit that into a nacelle without too much hassle, with some clever rewiring, and then just land, and then the door, which we'll see a little bit later on, just has a little ramp that just comes out. You just step down, boom, there you go. You've got a landed ship.
Even though I just said that about the pad on the front of the nacelle, I just went back to the picture, the size comparison of the side, and the nacelles are up a little too high for that to be the case. But whatever.
It's a good idea, though. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
The next picture is kind of a cool actiony shot. We can see some great little Voyager-esque greeblying something cutouts on the side, which are a nice little staple, and just more details. And there you go. You can see the NAR 3246350 SS Raven. So a little bit different. This is not the conventional, which again shows that if it's not Federation, if it's not military, it can look very different. And this obviously doesn't fit any of those original parameters.
And speaking of military, I don't see any visible phaser strips on this thing. No photon torpedo launchers. Not even a probe launcher, unless it's that side part. You would think for a scientific vessel it would have a probe launcher of some kind. There's nothing visible.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, it might just have really good sensors. I mean, if it's an exploration vessel, it might just be sensor packed out.
Yeah, or one of the things on the surface details on the top or the bottom could launch a probe up, and then it'll do its thing, whatever. But
or to be fair, the lines that are just bump maps and things, they could be a panel that can just. I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't have recessed. I mean, to be fair, if it's exploration, science, whatnot, it'd be kind of cool to have like a probe bay, which is both inside the ship to monitor and work out the probes, and then you walk out of the room, it decompresses, the thing opens up, and then you have the probe launcher, but you can access them directly from the cabin. That'd be kind of cool. So you can then, maybe it has a homing ability, it comes back, and then you can take information out of it, or whatnot. It'd be kind of cool. But obviously you can see a door there for scaling, so it's interestingly scaled, certainly. I mean, probably 4 decks, 5 maybe at the top of the top.
Yeah, see, here again, I go back to thinking it's probably like 2 decks with the bridge on top, so making it 3. You look at the size of that door, that looks like 1 deck.
Yeah.
And then you compare it to the Equinox, or the Equinox or the Nova class, and it's like, that doesn't make sense almost scaling-wise, but...
And again, to reiterate, these are the default scales of the CG models used on the show. So this is how they scaled them. We're just following their lead.
But as we've said, sometimes canon isn't canon as far as sizing goes. So
yes, and we're sitting next to a Borg cube, and as we all know, we hope you know from watching our Borg cube episode, the Voyager Borg cubes are 1/3 the size of real Borg cubes. Yeah. So it didn't even look much bigger compared to a Borg cube than it should have looked. But then you couldn't have looked that big for reals, otherwise you would never have seen it. So,
that's right. Next picture. This is a close up of the nacelle, the engine. than
The
nacelle. I love that the delta thing on the front is a different shape than the standard Federation one. Again, implying that it's a civilian or a scientific research vessel, which we know it is. I would never have assumed that would be a different shape, though, because I still figured it was a Starfleet vessel. But that's interesting. I don't know what you think about that.
It's obviously Federation, but not Starfleet.
Yes.
And so, branding is important. It's just a different side, like having, on TOS the comm badge be science or medical or whatever. That could be an interesting way of differentiating. A pennon is a pennon, but what if it's a different branch? And like I said, I love these engines. I love the Bizards. They're interesting shape. It's different. It's more... It feels less refined. It feels a bit more bulky, but at the same token, trying to be advanced. That front bit. I love the little circle detail. I love the grills, which have a lot of... The way the texture has a lot of power. Like the way it's different shades of blue is a nice effect. Yeah.
Now, we've talked before about redesigning the Oberth class from Star Trek 3 into like a next generation version of that. It would be cool to have this nacelle incorporated, because we know that the Oberth nacelles are very different than the refit nacelles. This is very different than anything else we've seen. Putting that on a modern designed Oberth would be very cool, I think.
It's even got the angle at the back, which is different.
Exactly.
That's perfect, Stuart. I love it. But the next picture, which you highlighted, is the impulse drives, and they're nicely there. Certainly meaty for a ship of this size. I like there's these little sort of vent things on top, as if it's keep heating the plasma and keep it you can't keep everything inside the hull. It needs to have some greeblies because it's trying to pack a lot of technology in a small bundle, relatively small anyway.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out what NAR stands for, and I can't. I'm thinking the last word might be research. Sorry, I'm just looking at the registry there. They usually mean something, obviously. I don't know.
I'll read the memory alpha for you. NAR.
Oh, that's cheating. This is the mission briefing. We don't do that.
It's true.
All right, well, just tell me what it means, because I'm curious.
According to Rick Sternbach, the NAR prefix indicates a merchant-type vessel.
So we still don't know what it means.
No. Yeah, they never really said specifically. There's no specific. But there's a DY500 class, an all-berth class, something and some other stuff that use the same prefix, but that's all side canon or books or whatever. So it's an odd side thing then. But it's nice they invented something else. I wish it was more high def in the show to be able to see it, because I never saw it.
True enough. Let's go to the next picture, and this is a shot of the underside. Like you said, we'd be talking about these later. These to me look like different cargo modules or some kind of plug and play science equipment, perhaps. Or computer cores, anything you can plug into the bottom to kind of customize the ship would be what I think these are. Or for landing, they could be like cargo doors that come down or something.
Did you know the ship had these details?
I did not know the ship had these details.
Yeah, this surprised me. I'm like, oh, there's 8 doors at the bottom.
I mean, I knew that. Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, no, it's a really, such a specifically, purposely done detail. Really works. I really like it. Now, what I'm picturing is either it's like plug and play cargo elements, so it's easy modules. It's just all inbuilt. It's just all part of the hull. Rather than having a secondary hull.
Deuterium tanks for long trips.
Or potentially, because there are sort of hinges. You can sort of hinges. You can almost imagine if this is an exploration vessel. They all open up. The thing hovers. A secondary craft comes out, like the Argo or something, to explore. Maybe we've got one hatch or half a hatch, as in 4 of the 8 is maybe an Aqua version, another half is an Argo version. Again, I'm sure these can be very mission specific. So either doors or cargo hatches could be very interesting, and certainly for dropping in. Or these could be the shuttle bays as well. I mean, why not? Launch bay.
Or the probe launchers, drop the probes out the bottom, and yeah.
So it could be any and all of these things, just a very sort of multi-purpose piece. But yeah, still no phaser strips though, and no visible torpedo launchers, unless that was obviously it.
Personally, I'd want those when I was exploring the Borg. Going after the Borg, I'd want some kind of defensive system. Personally,
yeah, but would that really help?
It couldn't hurt. Let's put it that way.
Couldn't hurt them. Yes, you're right.
Aha. That's funny.
Now, the next picture I want to point out, because I know something quite interesting, beyond just the great little details all over the top. We know the aft of the wing has a impulse grill. Look at the front of the wing. There's another grill. It's actually very similar to the impulse grill, but obviously it's not lit up. Now, what do you think that could be?
Could be a rear-facing impulse grill.
Or forward-facing.
Or forward-facing, sorry. To propel it backwards is what I meant. Yeah, very quick reversal, quick maneuvering. You fire the back one on the one side and the front one on the other side, spin the ship really quick, get the hell out of there. Or intakes of some sort. They're collecting stellar matter, much like the Bizarre collectors there on the nacelles. I don't know. It could be many things.
But I just don't want to point that out, because it's pretty unique to have forward, that's quite a deliberate choice. And I love how also they connect to the hull at different levels. And yeah, I mean, they could be, enhanced sensor palettes. You could have a sensor in each gap, then pushes out, forward sensor thing, dedicated zones. Because, I mean, that's quite a chunky, wing. I'm sure you could have multiple layers of functionality there. Yeah, although I will say, you can see a line of windows. There's actually not that many windows on this ship. Certainly implies a small crew.
Yeah.
And a lot of rooms without windows, certainly.
Again, I think the default scaling that you have is, I think it's a little bit wrong, to be honest. I think it's way too big. But that's just my opinion.
Okay. The next picture is back on that door. We can see it's got it's a nice little deal. I'll even put like a little pad next to it. Yeah. And you can definitely see the pennant even clearer there. But yeah, very different, much more organic curves than the classic one.
Yeah, and here again, it's like 2 decks maximum, which is what I thought originally. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It'd be interesting to match that to a runabout door, because it should be the same door.
Yeah, that would throw the scaling way off from what the scaling charts we just looked at were. I'm not giving you crap for the scaling, because like you said, it's the default load-in scale. So, but I wonder if they did that to get more detail out of it for the shots, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how the default scaling thing works, but it doesn't seem like it works here. So,
well, we can ask Rick Sternback, because I know it was part of the process at least. I mean, he's the Sternback, the one and only. You've met him at least once.
Oh yeah.
And there's one little thing that, these models are designed for a certain level of detail, and while I'm trying to light them in quite a nice way for modern standards, if you go to the next picture, this is where the limitation of the models do come in. You can see the front 3 windows are the same 3 pictures of the same quarters of the literal Voyager set, and that's the windows.
Oh, that's awful. Don't shatter my illusions.
But at least there's something in the windows. Obviously nowadays you would add a full 3D interior and it would move, and then the ship would hold up even more. It's just these models are old at this point, and the fact they got some nice shots show they can still hold up just fine. But there are some shortcuts, obviously.
Yeah, and you got to give them credit for the amount of detail they put into something that was seen on screens for so little amount of time. Yeah. I mean, that's just fantastic. They do that all the time with these Star Trek ships. The detail is just incredible, and you see it for maybe 10 seconds out of the whole episode sometimes.
And in standard weren't even building it for that high resolution. And I will say, the Dominion War was obviously happening as well. Would have been lovely to see other ships that they built at a Nova class. I know they're not for that sort of purpose, but in those big battles it would have been great to see just a Raven flying in the like some other classes that you've just got. Prometheus, I mean, that's obviously very, very late, but throw Prometheus right there at the end. I know it's a different company, but Foundation Imaging did co-do a few episodes. Throw in a Prometheus, throw in a whatever. I think part of the reason they were all made as hero ships, so they had higher detail than a lot of the background ships in those episodes. And obviously don't necessarily confuse branding with DS9 and Voyager. But let's look at a little internal space, because I thought it was quite interesting. The next picture is the bridge. This is a brand new... This is obviously very familiar, but I think this was built brand new for this episode, or at least a retool of an Alien, but quite easily... It's definitely smaller than a conventional bridge. They retooled the Enterprise refit bridge for God knows how many bridges, so that's sort of the standard bridge size. What do you think about this design? Because it's pretty different.
I think it's really neat, actually. I like the horseshoe helm console. It can be piloted by one person by the looks of it, which makes sense for the small family size. And I was right, the door at the back there goes to the living area, so that's kind of vague. I don't know if it's all on the same deck or right next door or down the hallway. I don't know. But again, it makes me think the ship is a lot smaller than what we saw.
Yeah, and clearly a crew of 5 minimum. There's no captain's chair, which is interesting. It feels like a very, down and dirty. You're the one piloting, you're the one living it, you're the one,
Yeah.
But also not cramped, actually, based on this sort of size, which is kind of nice. And not laden with tech. But Stuart, you had questions. Here are now answers. The next picture is, and I'm pretty sure this is a roughly canon. I know we saw roughly one in the show. This is done by Axe Richardson, and this is the Kepler class, which is not the canonical name, I believe. I know Raven class isn't its name either, but that's just the one we have. But this is at least his interpretation of the design. What do you think?
Well, at the most, there's 5 decks.
Yeah.
I'd say 4 that are actually usable. It's interesting, though. There's a landing pad at the back there, and at the front, kind of half, like right behind the door at the front is another landing pad, and a shuttle.
And a shuttle, which is where you said it would be. So I guess it's a wraparound. I mean, why not? A bay with space to bring cargo in, maybe that sort of thing, or to have 2 shuttles, just two along. It is interesting. There's one thing that I hadn't considered because we don't, think about it as much. But there is no deflector dish. But there's obviously a deflector. It's just inbuilt to the hull. But obviously there's no visible dish.
Miranda class.
Miranda class. But we had no problem with that because guess what? They must all have deflectors. It's just inbuilt. Yeah. And I think the scaling does work based on what the conventional scale is. You've got the door, obviously. You've got the one deck below, one mostly deck above, and then on the top, another bit of deck, and just a bit of functional room below. So that works just fine for me.
Yeah, one thing that interests me, and here again, this scale says it's smaller than the Equinox, I think, as well.
Yes.
But one thing that I assumed, and that could be, if this is correct, I mean, we know this is kind of a fan thing.
It's
is the warp core. I would assume that it would be more of a horizontal warp core, like on the runabout along that top section. So that top section wouldn't even be the deck. I thought that would be the like a horizontal warp core, as opposed to this. I mean, this works. This looks like a fantastic design, but I just assumed it was the same kind of layout as the runabout because it does share a lot of the runabout looks and kind of design lineage. So I assumed that there was a horizontal warp core in the top section there instead of a deck. So
I guess maybe that's just an abandoned technology for larger ships, and we haven't seen it since the refit. So
and
I will say
even the refit had the vertical one. It just had the offshoot that goes out to the nacelles. So
sure, but I will say that this picture doesn't refer to any of those under pod doors, which obviously if you didn't see them in the show, you didn't know they exist to put them in, which is why we love Trekyards because we show no details. But there's no visible anything here, and it's got a warp core ejection, but there is no hatch on the bottom beyond the big hatches, and it seems like an odd, very uniform thing to have one be uniquely Shuttle Bay warp core ejection. I don't see any visible weapons though, which I think fits what we were saying. And if I zoom around the wording, I don't see any. There's no weapons according to this. Obviously, being a fan version, but it's interesting. A ship with no weapons. Now there was another class of ship we looked at like a year ago that had no weapons. We were confused by it. Was it K7? I think it was K7. That was the space station. It should have. It's like it's on the border. It has no weapons. It's like it was a ridiculous idea, but hey,
yeah.
Maybe you need a Type 7 phaser license to have a phaser on your ship. They just couldn't afford it.
Maybe, yeah. So let's go to the last picture, which in true mission briefing format is the first picture.
Yeah.
Which isn't always the case. It's mainly the case, though, with mission briefings. That's a great shot of the ship. Again, okay, my final thoughts. Yes. I love this design. I don't think it's as big as the Equinox or the Nova class. I think that scaling chart's wrong. And I hate to bring that up. You look like you're like, stop blaming me for the scaling, and I understand that you just loaded it in. But I gotta say,
one thing to note about the Equinox is that obviously that has back-swept nacelles, which changes the length. Whereas this ship, everything is literally, if you go up to the side scale, everything is inside the body. So that does change your perspective a little bit. And obviously if, like say, a lot of it's cargo space, then that would change the people in a mission profile.
But it's still a great ship. I love it. And yeah, I think it's a great addition to the Star Trek universe. Wish we would have saw more of it. Would love to know the real size. We'll have to look that up at some point. We need to do a full episode on this thing at some point, I think. It'd be fun.
I want to do it. This is one of those little gems in Voyager that I think is really just an interesting ship. And yeah, my closing thoughts. Yeah, it's a big, bulky ship, but it actually has a lot of curves, a lot of angles. That it's better than some of its parts. The fact that it has original nacelles, that really sets it off. Love the dimensionality. The little greeblies. This could easily be a rubbish little ship with so little to it, but they put the time in, gave it some unique things like possibly the alternate, impulse drives on the front, like little things that you see. The pennant, like custom thoughts that I love to see, and I we need to look. We talk to Rick. We need to talk to the CG team that I believe fleshed out. Talk to those guys and try and learn more about it. And yeah, can't wait. So until next time, guys, you can support us on Patreon or a one-time donation at Trekyards.com. Of course, just share this video where you think fans would like this ship, and of course, thank you very much to Ned Thurber for supporting us on Indiegogo and allowing this episode to be made to jump ahead of the queue and get out there.
Yes, and I liked it. Hopefully you guys like it. Click the thumbs up.
Yes.
There's apparently a golden thumbs up like button if you get to 1,000 likes. I want to see that. I want to see 1,000 likes in this video. I want to see it turn gold. That's what other YouTubers talk about. I don't know if it's a real thing. Let's test it out, guys. And I look forward to your comments and stuff below. So until next time, I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Quan Kongs.
And this has been Mission Briefings.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.